So, a government subsidy, right? It seems pretty obvious who benefits when the government starts handing out money. Well, today we're going to see how one simple tweak to market conditions can give us a result that is completely surprising and totally counterintuitive.
And just so you know, what we're digging into today comes from an academic lecture given in English by Michael Raviv of Jerusalem. His analysis is the perfect guide for us to really pick apart this economic puzzle and find something, well, pretty unexpected. So here's the big question for today. Who really gets the benefit from a government subsidy? The answer might feel like a no-brainer, but what if I told you that the common wisdom isn't really the whole story? Okay, so before we get to the surprise, we've got to cover the basics. This is the standard textbook case, what you'd learn in any Econ 101 class about how these subsidies are supposed to work. Yeah, the usual thinking is that a subsidy is a win-win. It helps everybody out. The idea is that it splits the financial benefit between the people buying the stuff and the people selling it. And here's how that usually breaks down. For consumers, it's pretty straightforward. They get to pay a lower price, which is always nice. And for the producers, they get to pocket a higher price for every single thing they sell. So both sides walk away a little happier. Seems fair, right? Simple. But, and you knew there was a but coming, economics is just full of these fascinating exceptions. So now we get to the twist, a really peculiar market where the normal rules just don't seem to apply. So let's play a little what-if game. What if you had a product where consumers were going to buy the exact same amount of it, whether the price was sky high, dirt cheap, or anywhere in between? Yeah, there's a name for this weird situation. It's called perfectly inelastic demand. And you could see it right here. The demand curve is just a straight vertical line. That means no matter where the price moves on that vertical axis, up or down, the quantity demanded on the horizontal axis is just locked in. Think of something like life-saving insulin for a diabetic. They need a specific dose, and a price change won't alter that medical need. All right, so you've got this unique market condition in your head? Good. Now let's see what happens when the government drops a subsidy into this very strange situation. This is where the textbook gets tossed right out the window. We're going to break this down into 4 simple steps. We'll start with how the market looks before the subsidy, watch what the subsidy does, and then figure out who actually walks away with the benefit.
Okay, step 1. Here's our starting line. See that straight up and down demand curve we were just talking about? It crosses the normal supply curve at this one point. That gives us our starting price, P0, and our fixed quantity, X0. Simple enough?
Now, for step 2, the government comes in and introduces a subsidy. For the producers, this is great news. It's basically a discount on their costs for every unit they sell, so it pushes their entire supply curve down. They're now willing to supply the same amount for a lower price.
And here it is. This is the moment everything changes. Look where that new supply curve hits the demand curve. Because demand is a perfectly vertical line, the quantity sold, X0, hasn't budged at all, not one bit. But the price that consumers pay? Whoa. It has dropped by the entire amount of the subsidy.
So, who gets the benefit? This chart makes it ridiculously clear. 100% of that subsidy money goes directly to consumers through that lower price. And the producers? They get absolutely nothing. A big fat zero. This really is the bottom line. But how is that even possible? Why does the producer get nothing? Well, let's follow the money. Before, they sold the product for price P0. Now, the consumer pays a new, much lower price, but the government pays the producer the subsidy to make up the difference. So what's the producer's total take-home pay per item? It's the new low price plus the subsidy, which adds up to exactly the original price, P0. Their effective price hasn't changed, and they're selling the same amount. Their financial situation has not improved one bit.
Now, this isn't just some quirky little graph to puzzle over in an economics class. This has huge, real-world implications for how we think about government policy and, well, its actual, sometimes unintended consequences.
So here's the crucial takeaway. You can't just slap a policy onto a market and assume you know what's going to happen. Clearly, who benefits is a way more complicated question than it looks on the surface. And concepts like elasticity aren't just for exams. They're absolutely essential for figuring out who's really going to win or lose from any economic change. And that leaves us with a final thought to chew on. If the simple idea of a subsidy can have such a wildly counterintuitive result, what other obvious economic truths might not be so true after all? It's a great reminder to always question the assumptions. Hope you enjoyed this explainer, and we'll see you for the next one.